I am starting a new project. This is something that I've wanted to do for a while, and I just kind of never got around to it. Never got around to buying the book. I guess I put it off because it seemed really intimidating, and it still does. I just really want to read it because I've heard it's just the spookiest thing. It'll really unnerve you. So many people have read it and said it was really great, so I thought, okay, I'll just try it. I got House of Leaves. I can't pronounce the author's last name, so I'm not going to try. But this book came out, I believe, in the year 2000. It is a very popular horror book. I guess it's horror. I don't know anything about it, honestly, other than it's like files or something. I don't know. In case you don't know anything about it either, I'll quickly flip through. There's all kinds of like weird pages in this. See, it looks like a lot of files. Strange stuff. There's pages where, like, I think there's, see, this looks like just footnotes. There's weird drawings. I think there's backward stuff. I don't know, but I don't know what the plot is literally at all. All I know is it's a weird, spooky book, and I'm desperately hoping it will make me unnerved, because I never feel that way reading anything. I almost never feel that way watching anything. I've been a really, really huge horror fan since I was like 19, so 13 years now. I've seen a lot of horror movies. I've read a lot of horror. Nothing really makes me feel anything. That's a little bit how I am generally about things, which is, I guess, kind of an issue. I'm very hard to please, unfortunately, like movie-wise. I watch a channel on YouTube that talks a lot about horror movies, and there's someone on it who is a huge horror fan, and he always is like, oh, this movie is so like grotesque and perverted and hardcore, and then I watch it and I don't even react. So I think there's something wrong with me, like on a really deep level. I have this very big book with the step back cover, which I hate, but it's pretty thick. I think there's like 700 pages. This is going to be a really long endeavor. I don't know how long the video is going to be or anything, or how often I'll check in, but my goal is to feel very unnerved by this. If something unnerves me, I suppose that's when I'll check in and when I figure out what the plot is. So I'm sorry if you don't know what House of Leaves is, because the truth is I don't really know what House of Leaves is, but I intend on finding out hopefully tonight. It's pretty early. I can get a few hours of reading done. Wish me luck, please. Thank you. Okay, a couple hours later. I am roughly 24 pages in. There was a lot of pre-book pages, so I guess I'm more like 30 pages in. I have a vague idea of what the plot is. So it starts with this guy, Johnny, who his friend calls him to go check out an apartment of his neighbor who he thinks died. And the two go over to the neighbor's house. He is an old man. He is dead. And the apartment has weird vibes. Cops come, take the body, blah, blah, blah. There is a trunk that they discover full of kind of files, sort of this man's notes and findings on a movie. And Johnny, the lead, takes it, and he's narrating this whole thing. He talks about discovering the files, trying to figure out what they are, and it's about a documentary movie that supposedly came out a few years before. The book takes place, it looks like, in 1997. It came out in 2000, so it's supposed to only really be a couple years ago, so keep that in mind if you get a little confused on timing. This is a 25-year-old book, basically. So he goes through these files, and he is like this. He's talking about this movie that doesn't exist. Johnny couldn't find any record of it. It's a documentary about this little family in a house, and it's weird because the man who wrote the files has all these citations of like articles and interviews and all this stuff for a movie that doesn't exist, and the citations don't exist. It's not real, but it's so thorough. It's so detailed. It hasn't gotten like trippy yet for me, but the author or the narrator keeps saying how finding the stuff basically has ruined his life. We don't necessarily know why. He got really obsessive about it. He is like hiding in a hotel with all this stuff pouring over it, and he's like added his own footnotes on top of the original old man's footnotes. It's a really dense book. So I was right to be intimidated because it's just a lot of words on the pages. Like, it's not only like magazine length and really tall, but it's really thick, and the pages are just like nuts. Like, oh my God, this is the next page I have to read. And it's just a lot of words, and it's a lot. And I am intimidated because I feel like I have to read everything to understand what's going on. And I'm trying to read it, and I'm still like a little bit confused. And I feel like I might have said wrong information here about what's going on because I'm too stupid to keep up with it, I guess. I'm trying really hard, I assure you. I am enjoying it so far, despite my confusion. But it's crazy that I've been reading for like 2.5 or whatever hours, and I've barely made a dent. There is legitimately 700 pages in this book. I don't know how long this is going to take, which is also intimidating me. I'm intent on finishing it. I do have a really... Oh, I should also mention one more thing. In my little endeavor to read things that are kind of spooky and kind of weird, I found out about this book called S, unfortunately conceptualized by J.J. Abrams. It was his idea, but it was written by Doug Dorst, it says. So I'm hoping that the J.J. Abrams of this doesn't cause an issue. But I think the premise of this is it's a library book that these two people keep passing back and forth and leaving notes in the margins. And I think there's like a mystery to... I truly actually don't know a lot about it. I don't normally buy books and not know what happens in them, because I try to be very mindful now of how I buy books, because when I was younger, I wasn't. And I have owned probably over 1,000 books, and I've gotten rid of 800 books. Because back in my day on Amazon, they used to sell used books for a penny. The shipping was $2.98. So I would buy penny books on Amazon, just anything that sounded interesting. And I just had a lot of books. So I try to be careful. Tangent aside, this has like a lot of inserts in it and little mystery things. And it just seemed cool. And that I will probably also do for a video. This one is going to be, as it probably says in the title, dedicated. It's just House of Leaves. Sarah probably won't pop up too much in it because she's not reading it. She just simply doesn't have the time to dedicate to a 700-page thing, which is what I'm calling it. It's a thing. I'm very worried about not keeping up with it, but you know, I would like to find a nice way to distract myself. I'm still pretty upset about Grant and Lockley and Dorothy. All of them. It's only been, tomorrow will be 1 week since Grant died. And then Tuesday will be 2 weeks since Lockley died. And just a lot of stuff has been going on, and it's been very stressful. So I'm really trying to enjoy some reading again. It's been a rough go. I don't know if Sarah's even reading right now, to be honest. There's just a lot going on. So I'm going to try and keep that out of this, not only because it's private, but because it is just like a huge bummer. Sarah's okay. I'm okay. Don't like worry about that or anything. It's just our rats are old, and it's been tough, but I'm going to stop going on about it. I just keep thinking about Grant and Lockley, I can't really help it, but Spooky book, yay. Yay. Small update. I'm a few more pages in. Something spooky finally happened. I'm not especially unnerved, but it's worth mentioning. So, as the new author, Johnny is losing his mind, just so unnerved, so sure something is following him. We get a little piece of the documentary thing. The family left their house for a week-long trip, and they came back, and there was a door that wasn't there before. Just a full door, opens to a room with nothing in it. No windows, no outlets, no anything at all. Just a room that did not exist. They go back and check pictures. Wasn't there. The cameras they have in their house only turn on when there's movement recorded, so there's absolutely no footage, which means no one was in the house. It just appeared, and they're trying to make sense of it, and they cannot. And I like how it was described. It was very, I'll say, immersive. It was like, okay, yeah. It was dry, and I like that. It wasn't like trying too hard to scare you. It was just, this is what it is, and this is how people are feeling, and I appreciate that. I appreciate not trying super hard, because you can always tell, and it's always annoying. So I'll say that I'm 27 or so pages in. We got to the first, like, kind of weird thing. So I'm hopeful it's going to get nuts soon, because I want something crazy. Okay, so I have officially been creeped out. I'm very excited. I'm going to try and explain this as best I can and read the little passage that did it. So the family that lives in this weird house, they have the mysterious room that appeared, and it's a long hallway now. And the main guy got lost in it. Very creepy, just a big creepy hallway, basically. It's like ruining this family. The mom is going nuts. The dad can't help but investigate even when she begs him not to. Very eerie. And he's got a little girl. She's sitting on his lap and wants to play a game. And she says, "Come play with me, Daddy." And it says, he lifts his daughter into his lap. "Okay, what do you want to play?" And she says, "I don't know. Always." And he says, "What's always?" And it says, "Despite a tremendous amount of material generated by Exploration A, no one has ever commented on the game Daisy wants to play with her father. Perhaps because everyone assumes it is either a quest to play always or just a childish neologism. Logism? I don't know that word. Then again, always slightly mispronounces hallways. It always, it also echoes it. I botched that. I'm very bad at reading it loud. But it creeps me out in a good way. I like the idea that, like, the kids are being haunted by this weird hallway. I feel like none of this has made sense that I've explained, and to be fair, it barely makes sense when I'm reading it. But I liked that. Very spooky. The atmosphere is really good. I'm like 80 pages in now. So I feel like I'm still at like the very beginning, which is crazy to me, but I have a really long way to go. I don't understand how there's so much more left, because it feels like I've read so much, and I'm really just beginning. So I'm kind of dying to see where this goes. I'm very much enjoying it so far. So I will say, if you're intimidated the way I was, it is very hard to read it, but it seems worth it to me so far. I have read collectively 8 hours at this point, and I'm 80 pages in. So keep in mind that that's how it goes, because the pages are so dense. But I'm happy I got like the chills when I read the things. It always sounds like hallway, which is so creepy if you know what's going on with this weird hallway, which you probably don't, unfortunately, and I know I didn't convey this well, but I'm doing my best. These scares have escalated yet again. At this point, the suddenly appearing hallway in the house has turned into a full-on labyrinth. It is very extensive. The main guy and his friends, a couple of friends, are going in and exploring it for days and weeks at a time because it's just so huge. They're bringing lots of supplies, just a full-on exploration. And I don't know if I've mentioned spoilers. The whole thing's gonna be so many spoilers, but the main person who is heading off the exploration had like an episode or something because he thinks there's some kind of creature in there. Like, they're leaving markers on the walls to show where they've been and stuff so they could get back, and when they come across them, they're torn apart, completely destroyed, and they think they hear growling all the time. And I think he hallucinated that he saw one of the creatures, and he ended up shooting one of the guys, and the other guy was trying to get him out, and he like was trying to not let him because he's like, I'll go to prison, and he kept shooting at them as the guy was trying to get his wounded friend out. So he like had a full-on break. So that's interesting. We still got a really long ways to go, but that's where we're at right now. I don't want to totally give away everything, so I'm not going to be doing too many details or that, but it's amping up very slowly, but I'd rather that than it go from like 0 to 60. And then our narrator, the guy who is like commenting over this book that he found, is also like losing his mind. He's doing a lot more drugs. He's just completely detaching from reality and his friend and all kinds of things. He's just completely thrown himself into doing research on the manuscript, and he's only leaving the house pretty much to do drugs and sleep with people. There's actually a lot of graphic sex in this book. I was very surprised by that. So like, just be aware. It's interesting, but he's losing it and the other character's losing it, and the hallway has just turned into an absolute monstrosity, and that's the last thing I read. So I'll update you again when something else interesting happens. I got it wrong. It wasn't the main other guy who shot someone. It was someone else. I just want to say that in case someone commented saying I got it wrong. There's a lot of names in this book, and they're kind of confusing, so just get off my back. I'm going to try and demonstrate, because I had another bout of, like, not being scared, but kind of, like, edge of my seat anxious reading this, and I'll say that a lot of that is because of the formatting. Specifically, for like a lot of pages, there's very little on each page, so you're like ripping through these, and it's just very tense, the thing happening, and it's just going like this, and you're barely getting any words at all, like nothing at a time, and it's just the formatting of it is so wonderfully eerie, and it really kind of put me at the edge of my seat. I can't say that I've been legitimately scared or anything, but that was really good at like building tension as things are getting worse. The formatting of just like 1 or 2 words at a time sometimes, and just how fast you have to go through the pages, and the way the information's coming at you slowly but also like really fast is great. I really love that bit. I am quite a bit farther into it than I was when I started tonight, because there was a lot of those pages with only a few words, so I actually burned through like 100 pages in 20 minutes or something like that. So I'm doing pretty good. I'm trying really hard not to bend the spine. It's making me upset that I am, but I just wanted to pop in and show that because I really think the formatting adds quite a bit to it. I wasn't sure how I'd feel about it in the beginning, but it's really neat. It's very creative. I wasn't gonna do another clip here because honestly I'm like kind of emotional, like almost crying, and I didn't necessarily want to talk about that, but it's supposed to be my reading journey of reading this, so I feel like I have to. But like this book's very intense. I just got to the part where the main character of the story being told, Navidson, they're trying to get out of the labyrinth. They're trying to escape because they're like out of food, everything's bad. 2 people have died. And there's a part where they got everyone on pulleys, and they're getting them up this staircase to get out, and it's really high up, and so they would bring someone up, and then they drop a quarter down to let you know that they got up. And, however long it takes to drop a quarter from however long up, right? And then the guy before last is going up, and everything just kind of vanishes. And the main character's just like freaked out, obviously, and he's there, and like the rope disappears and the guy disappears and he can't see anything. And he's just stuck. And then it says, like, a really long time later, he heard the quarter drop, hit the ground. And he, like, was doing these calculations of how, like, he surmised that the staircase had grown and expanded because it vanished in the room. That's what happens in the labyrinth, is it keeps expanding and changing. And he does the math, and it's wrong math, I think they said, but it's just like him calculating how far up the stairs must have been that it took the quarter that long to drop. It says, I'm too muddled to do the math, but it doesn't take a genius to realize I am an impossible distance down. And it says something like 2,300 miles or something. And it's very eerie, I guess, to put yourself in his position, how scary that is. And I am actually very immersed and easily, unfortunately, putting myself in that position of just being lost in the darkness of this ever-changing room with two people who are dead and your girlfriend and kids on the other side. And it's giving me like a little bit of an anxiety attack. Not only that, but then our narrator, Johnny, who is reading all these files and adding to them and stuff, is slowly losing his mind in this heartbreaking, miserable way. Like, he's just losing it. Like it's a really good depiction of kind of like the loss of hope and the helplessness of that. And it's really upsetting because you're just watching him get worse and worse and stop caring about things and talking about how he used to care and it's just like gone now. He's losing time. He's losing friends. He's isolating himself. He's just not well and no one's helping him. And it's very hard to read, obviously. So it's really affecting me emotionally. And I'm surprised because that doesn't typically happen with me with anything. Honestly, I'm pretty hard to reach, really hard to scare, really hard to upset in any kind of long-lasting way. I haven't read in 2 days because we had some stuff going on, so I'm back to it after a couple days, and I've gone through like 150 pages, which is like double what I had read the entire time so far. I'm hoping to read a little bit more. It's actually like 4:30 in the morning, so I need to go to bed, but it's hard to stop reading. That's a consistent thing about this, is every night it's become increasingly difficult to put the book down. And I don't want to read it in the daytime, not only because I'm doing stuff, but just because I kind of like this little new ritual that I have. And it's been good, but also very taxing, I suppose. I'll say that. The book is very taxing to read in quite a lot of ways, but rewarding. Like, I'm very grateful that I have this opportunity and that this exists. I think it's a very special piece that exists here, and I'm about halfway through it, so I will see you when something else affects me horribly. Thank you. I feel like I should be documenting the parts that mess me up, and I didn't mention all the specifics, so I'll say here. So I said back a few minutes ago that one of the guys started shooting, and he shot a guy, and his friend grabbed him, his shot friend, and hauled him away and was hiding with him, and no matter what, he wouldn't leave him. He was carrying him around, trying to get him out. He would not leave his friend. He eventually locked himself in a room in the labyrinth, waiting for help. And it eventually came. The Davidson found him, and it talked about like the look of relief on the guy's face, because he thought he was done for, and his friend was done for, and he sees someone else, and he's going to help him. And then it says that basically like that relief was cut off by a pinky's worth of lead, and the guy was there, the guy who was shooting, and he shot him and killed him. The guy that was waiting with his friend who was shot, who wouldn't leave him, died. And I just keep thinking about that thing. It was like, he thought he was a goner, and then he got like a second of relief and then immediately died. And it just is sitting in my brain. I'm like 20 pages ahead of that at least, and it will not leave my mind. And they brought his body up, and he's back in the house, and the guy who got shot lived, and he's just like lying on the ground bleeding, and like the kids come downstairs, and there's just a dead body, and their mom is crying, and there's a guy who's like dying. It's just so much. And if you told me all this on, like, if someone just said like all these things were happening before I read this, I feel like I would have been like, oh, I won't be affected by that. But I am terribly affected. I am horribly, terribly affected by all of this. It's very hard to read for me. I don't know why. It's just really, a lot of it is sitting in my brain, and I think about it through the day, and then nighttime comes and I'm reading the book, and then it just adds to this pile of sadness. It's nuts. I never would have really thought a book could affect me quite like this. Normally when a book affects me, it's because it strikes a nerve, like it cuts a little too close. That's typically the only time I ever really have reactions. And this doesn't. Like, this is obviously very far from anything I've ever experienced, but it's really getting under my skin in a very intense way. It's just continuously surprising that I managed to be affected by something like this. For that alone, it's kind of just something very special. I realize this clip is dark because I didn't turn a light on, and I'm not going to turn a light on. I just wanted to say I got up, it's like 5 in the morning. I got up to go to the bathroom right before going to bed, and on my way back down the dark hallway, I paused for a second, just a second, and I swear to God, I thought I heard growling. In the book, there's just a lot of people thinking they hear growling, both in the hallway and then Johnny in his life. And I booked it to my bedroom. I think it's gonna get rough from here on out. So, wish me luck, please, because I don't feel great. I keep seeing shadows on the bottom of my door from the hallway, so I'm gonna have some nightmares. I'll check in with you tomorrow. So another big thing happened in the book. Sorry, I'm very tired, so I'm gonna make this as coherent as possible. The house ate the main character's brother, so there was a bunch of chaos. The partner of Navy wants to leave. The house is dangerous. She wants out. She wants the kids out. She wants to go. They're packing, about to leave, and the house basically like revolts against them, kind of, and it starts like collapsing, but it like breaks and puts itself back together. It's so sentient, and it almost kills her. And then Tom, Navy's brother, they're looking for the two kids because they went missing. Navy got his partner Karen in the car because she passed out because the house is trying to kill her. And the kids go missing, and they're looking for them. And they find the boy, and they get him in the car. And then the daughter, the 5-year-old, Tom, finds her. And as the house is trying to kill them, is hurrying to get her out. And the last thing he's able to do basically is save her. He gets her right out to where her dad is, and then the house kills him. It mutilates him and then like swallows him whole in front of his family, and it's a lot to deal with. It's the most, other than the hallway itself, it's the most massive thing the house has done, because before this it's been pretty much just focused on the hallway, inside the hallway where the weird things happen, and kind of like growls and voices and like a vibe. But this was a big thing. I'm roughly halfway through. So I'm not surprised. It was just very intense and I wanted to do an update. So that's where we're at right now. And our narrator, who's not Navy, Johnny, seems to be plotting his own death once this investigation is over, because he's just losing it and will have nothing to live for, in his own words. That's what I'm interpreting. Maybe I'm reading wrong. Here's the thing. If I say something wrong, it's because I'm an idiot and this book is really hard to get through, so I might have missed something or misinterpreted. But that's what it looks like is going to happen. That's where we're at, is the house ate Tom and Johnny wants to die, and it's all very sad. And I am sad. Tom was just a sad guy who always felt like he was in the shadow of his brother, who was more successful. And he just dies. He just dies saving the baby. It's just, this book is just sad people dying. It's such a bummer. So I've finished reading for the night. I have Cheeto finger right now, so please ignore that. I'm just snacking because I don't feel good emotionally. I've finished my reading for tonight because it's really late. I just want to reflect on my feelings of the book so far, like how it's making me feel. Like, I've noticed I feel really bad when I've done my reading for the night, like emotionally. And I think it's just because, at least for me, this book makes me feel like so lonely. There's so much desperation in the emotions of these people, with Navy desperately trying to figure out what's happening in his house and making this film, and Johnny trying to figure out what's going on with just all this information. It's very lonely. There's, like, with Johnny, he's literally alone. Navy has his partner, his kids, all these people, but it's still just like this profound sense of kind of like emptiness. And it makes me feel that way when I read it. Like, it makes me feel genuinely, really just profoundly lonely. And it could be because I read at night. Sarah goes to bed at like 11. I'm typically up like a really long time after that. Sarah's the only person I really interact with through the day. Definitely physically, I text my boyfriend, obviously, but you know, he has stuff going on, so it's really just Sarah. So Sarah goes to bed and I'm just all alone. So I'm reading this book all alone at night when it's quiet and kind of dark. So I guess that maybe is adding to the feelings that I'm having, which makes it even more difficult to read. And I feel like, I wonder if I looked up other people's reviews on this and how they felt, if I'm just being a big wuss about it with how much I'm affected. But it's just like, that's what's getting me right now. I'm sitting here trying to watch like Legend of Zelda videos to make myself feel better before I go to sleep, and I'm just like hit with like this awful loneliness. I won't talk to anybody else for a while, so I'm just kind of sitting here hoping very much that these characters get some kind of happy, peaceful ending, and knowing they probably won't, knowing that they're probably going to die, which makes me a little bit sick to my stomach. Could be the Cheetos, I don't know. Don't eat Cheetos at 4 in the morning, by the way. I'm just very hungry. It's just wanted to, I don't know, make this little clip. I'm wondering if anyone else who read it has felt like this just awful sinking feeling in their chest of like, oh, I'm never gonna see the sunlight again. The sun's gone, voices are gone, it's just you and whatever room you're in like this pure, terrible silence. And that's just how it's gonna be forever. So I'm nearing the end. I haven't updated for a bit, but where I'm at is Navy went back into the house, back into the closet, and is lost and has been lost for 13 days. He kind of lost track, and it carries you through all of that, all of the exploring, him running out of things, him feeling like he's falling, feeling like he's like the ceiling's falling in on him. And the formatting of the book goes kind of crazy. You're flipping the book all over. It's backwards, it's upside down, it's sideways. It's disorienting, as I imagine that's the feeling they're trying to convey, is extreme bouts of disorientation. And it succeeded. I felt sick to my stomach reading it. And I don't know, I'm having a hard time interpreting. I don't know if he's dead. It says that it ends with this little blue light in the corner of just like this pitch black screen. And I don't know if that's it for him. I don't know if it's over. And then we jump over to Johnny, who is gone. He left to go find the house because he wants to know if it exists. And I'm nearing the end. A bunch of bits where Navy was exploring went really fast because those pages only had a few words on them. Definitely the most disorienting part of the whole book. Most like kind of eerie bits are where they're exploring both parts, where there's a few words on the page and you're just going fast. But with this one, you had to go a little slower than before because you have to like contort the book so that you can read it. And it was unsettling to say the least. I am so sad. I wish that he had just gone off with his partner and his kids. I'm sitting here just wishing desperately that he had left with them and stayed with them. He wrote this letter to his partner Karen right before he went in, this really sad drunken letter about how much he misses her and loves her and misses and loves the kids, but he just feels like he has to go do this, and it's just so sad. This book is, I can't emphasize enough how sad this book is making me and how lonely it's making me feel. It's just so hard. Like, I'm not scared. I haven't really been scared or anything, but just it has made me feel very deeply just immense amounts of pain from the people in this story. I just want Navy to go back to his wife and his kids. I just want him to get out and go be with them. I want Johnny to get it together and fix his life. And I just don't feel like that's going to happen. I feel like this is going to end so sad. In my gut, I just know. And I almost want to stop, because at this point, if I stop, I can pretend that maybe it could end happy. I could pretend for a little while longer, but I have to finish it. I have to know what happens. I have to know if Navy's dead and what happens to Karen and what happens to Johnny. I hate this, and it's also great, so. Okay, so it's 4:30 in the morning, and I have finished House of Leaves. I kind of don't even know what to say. I thought about waiting a day or two to do a clip so I can like let it really sink in, but the truth is I don't think it would help. And I fear that this whole vlog is going to be so incoherent, so impossible. Part of me also thinks that's a little fitting considering the subject matter, but I would love to sound like I knew what I was talking about. I don't know how to do that. Where we leave off, it concludes the story of Navy and Karen. I really loved how it concluded. I'm tempted to not even say what happened, because, you know, I'm not going to say exactly what happened. I think I would encourage everyone to go try and read this themselves. I loved the ending for the two of them, specifically what they did with Karen. I thought that was great. I thought that was, you know, perfect for her. As for Johnny, I guess it's ambiguous on purpose. We don't know what happened to him. We can assume he's alive. He's put this book out. He's contacted the editors, but we don't know for sure what happened to him. So as far as the story itself, that's just, we know what happens with Karen and Navy. We don't know what happens with Johnny. And good. I intend to do some more research because I'm not the smartest person. I don't I don't have great media literacy. I'm not clever. So there's probably an insane amount of stuff that I missed because I'm just not very smart. But I guess that's what I got. That's my interpretation, is we don't know what happened to Johnny. He's somewhere. And I read through his mom's letters in the back to him. She has schizophrenia. She's just, over the years, these letters, she's just slowly getting worse and worse. So I just got this impression of like, well, you go through the whole book watching Johnny or reading about Johnny kind of losing it, and you get to the end, it's like, oh, maybe he has a little bit of like what his mother has, or just something off in his mind. Maybe he's hallucinating this whole thing. Maybe he made it up. We don't really know. I think that's on purpose. You're not supposed to know, or you're supposed to pick it apart and theorize. I don't know. I heard it was supposed to possibly be a TV show. I don't know how the hell they do that. You really lose kind of the ambiguity of it all with a TV show, but it fell through. Fortunately or unfortunately, I don't know. But I don't know how to phrase this in a way that doesn't sound stupid and corny, but like, I really went on a journey with this book. I felt quite a lot of things. I was crying a lot by the end with Karen and Navy, and then Johnny tells the story. If you've read it, you'd know it's the one about the mother and the baby. And I was just like in a very fragile state emotionally, and I still am. I feel like I'm a total mess. I look like a mess. I've sat in this spot to do such sad clips, both for this channel and Sarah's Rat channel. So lots of emotions have happened in this particular spot in front of my bed, but I guess I'll leave you with, I really enjoyed House of Leaves. It was quite a lot to deal with. Coming from a person who typically isn't moved by stories they read, it's just a very rare occurrence for me to feel something strong, and something this strong really doesn't happen. Like, I feel very emotionally connected to a lot of comics I read, but like, this was something else. This was quite a lot for me. It's hard to recommend to specific people. Like, I don't know if I'd try and get Sarah to read it, because I don't know, it's such an undertaking. It's so heavy. It just, how do you suggest to someone that they do a really long and difficult endeavor that's going to leave them feeling sick to their stomach and horribly lonely? But I guess I'm doing that to anyone watching now. I highly recommend this, especially if you're in a good enough mindset that you can handle it, I guess. I can't say I was really frightened by anything. It wasn't the scariness of like, oh, this house is so eerie, though a couple points got me, and I mentioned those, but like, it's really just kind of the madness and the idea of this unshakable draw to a force that is going to hurt and kill you. It's very intense. I am picturing myself at like 16 reading it or something, and what that would have done to me, because I'm much older than that now. And it was just so much. Yeah, so I guess in conclusion, I really recommend it. And I think even though it's difficult to like keep up with, like, it's hard to keep your eyes on the words because it's so dense, it's just such a unique read. So I would highly suggest, if you like that kind of thing, and if it sounds even kind of interesting to you, to jump in, because it also leaves like a lot of room for theorizing, and it's the kind of thing I at least found myself thinking about a lot, even between reading sessions, because I only read it at night, only when everyone else was in bed and I'm alone in my room. So I put myself in a very specific mindset to read it. But yeah, I would love to hear if other people have read it and what their interpretations are, and if I'm a complete idiot and have missed something really obvious or have misinterpreted something really obvious, go ahead and make fun of me in the comments. That's fine. I know I'm not smart, but this has been a very long, emotional read and vlog. Thank you for watching if you did. Perhaps a more fun vlog for the next one, but we'll see.